Okay, so this is the Foundation Paper 1, which you sat for me as a test on the 29th of September. As always, I do the Paper 1 as a test so that it's non-calculator and I can be sure that you didn't use a calculator. I'll stick to the grade boundaries that we've been using all along, so we're aiming to get 70 for a grade C, and you can see here that you'll kick in the grade C questions around about 14, so you want to get as many of those early ones right as possible. Okay, right down in figures, the number's 8,204. If you think of your thousands, hundreds, tens and units, it's often easier to work backwards from the unit. So the and 4 would be there, 200 would be there, so there's no tens, and 8 thousands, so 8204. Write down in words this number. So again, you could put it in a grid. It's broken up for you. You can see you're in the millions. It's 4,600,000, and you have to put everything in words. So 4,600,000 or 4,600,000. Add together 78 to 96. It's a non-calculator paper, whatever method works for you. This is the one that works for me. 8 and 6 is 14, 4 down carry 1, 9 and 1 is 10, and 1 is, and 7 is 17, so 174. Write down this number correct to the nearest 10. This is the nearest 10, 20 column, so it's either going to be 8,720 or it's going to be 8,730 if that was counting up in tens. Because it's 26, it's nearest to 30, so you're looking for 8730. To the nearest 100, it's either going to be 700 or 800. You can see that it's closer because it's 26 to 700, so it'll be 8,700. Write down the value of the 6 in this number. You can see that the 6 occupies the hundreds column, units, tens, hundreds, so its value is 600. The value of the 9 would be 9,000, the value of the 5 would be 50, the value of the 7 would be 7. All the factors of 15 are all the numbers that divide exactly into 15. So 1 and 15 are one pair of numbers, and 3 and 5 are the other. How many notebooks costing £2.95 each can be bought with a £20 note? Well, you round that up to £3, and you see how many 3s go into 20, and 6 3s are 18, so it would be 6 books. Okay, so marks for that question are pretty much 1 all the way down. So you'll have 1 mark for 2 of them, and 1 mark for the other 2 of them. And for this, you'd have 1 mark for the method of rounding to £3, and 1 mark for working out the answer. Question 2. Write down the next term in each of the following sequences. So you look at what's happening each time. In the first gap, there's a gap of 7. In the next one, there's a gap of 7. In the next one, there's a gap of 7. So there must be a gap of 7 coming up. So the next number will be 32. With this one, it's going down by 6, and again by 6, and again by 6. So it's going to go down by 6 again. which would take you to 66. Write 78% as a decimal. You'd write 78 as if you were writing 78 pence written in pounds, which would be 0.78. 3/4 you should know is a pretty standard one, is 0.75. So in order to write these in ascending order, you need to have them all in the same format, and we've got that here because we've got 0.73, 0.75, 0.78. Ascending order means smallest to largest. So the smallest is 0.73, then comes 0.75, which is 3/4, then comes 0.78, which is 78%. So 1 mark for each of the complete sequences, and for this you'd have 1 mark for each conversion and 1 mark for writing them in the correct order. Okay, so for the next one, each of 30 pupils wrote down how many children, including themselves, were in their family. The following are the results. Complete the frequency table. So we're going to tally now. First of all, the 1, and once you've tallied something, mark it off so you know you're not going to count it twice or miss it out. So 1, 3, 4, 3, 2, 5, 1, 4, 2, 2, 2, 4, 1, 2, and when you tally, you bunch them in 5, so it's 4 down and across to group in 5. 3, 3, 5, 2, 1, 3, 3, 2, 6, 2, 1, 2, 4, 3, 2, 6. Once you finish the tally, you then add those up in the frequency. So you've got 5, 10, 7, and 8. And what you want to do is to make sure that adds up to 30. So 7 and 8 is 15, 25, 30. I know I've included everything. The mode is what occurs most often. Mode, most. Think of the alliteration there. So the mode is what happens most often is 10, but 10 isn't the mode, it's the number of children that is the mode. So 2 children. Using the squared paper, on the next page draw a suitable bar chart for the data given in the table. Now it is 4 marks for this, so you are going to have to do some work. The first mark is going to be for using up as much space as possible. So you don't want all your graph crammed up in one place, and similarly you don't want it so that you run out of space. So you look at what you are having to do, and you're having to go up your frequency, which is the vertical one. You're going to have to go up as far as 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is going to have to go there. You can't go up 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It's going to have to be one at a time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we have to label as well, so it's going up frequency that way. And because this isn't measuring data, it's counting data, the bars should have gaps between them. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 categories, So if we go 1 bar, miss a gap, 1 bar, miss a gap, 1 bar, miss a gap, 1 bar, that will work. So this first one is going to be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4 plus, and if I just tack on there that this is number of children. When you are doing this in an exam, use a pencil in case you go wrong. So it's the first one is going up to 5. The next one is going up to 10, so we got that gap. The next one is going to 7. And the final one is going up to 8. So remember that if it's not measuring data, if it's counting data, then you leave a gap between the bars. So the 4 marks there, you'll get 1 mark for a sensible axis, sensible scale. You'll get 1 for correct bars. You get 1 for the gaps and 1 for the labeling. So total for the first page then, if we go back to that, is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 for the first page. So there's a method there for the tallying and 1 for getting it all correct, 1 mark for the mode, and then 4 marks for that, which I'll bring over onto this page. Okay, measure the length of BE. So length is a ruler. This is the line BE. So you want to get your ruler, line it up 0, and you have to measure it accurately. So don't say, oh, it's 6 or oh, it's 5. It's 5.6 centimeters. Name the line which is perpendicular to DC. So this is the line DC. Perpendicular lines are at right angles to each other. So a perpendicular line looks like that. So the line that's at a right angle to DC is AE. Parallel lines are lines that never cross, they're travelling in the same direction. The 2 lines that are parallel there are AD and BC. So parallel to AD is BC, and angle ADE is the middle letter A to D to E. So this is the angle that you have to measure. Get your angle measurer. You want to put the center of the protractor, the angle measurer, on the corner where the angle is formed, and line your 0 up with one of the lines. So I usually line it up with the horizontal line, and then I'm looking at that and I'm knowing that our angle is less than 90 degrees. So if I'm reading off my protractor anything bigger than 90, I know my scale is wrong. So it's going across, it's going up the blue inside scale 10, 20, 30 from 0, and I can see there that that is less than 70, it's 60, 69 degrees. And B, C, E, B to C to E is this angle. So again, center of the protractor there, line up the 0 with one of the lines of the angle. So I've got to turn my protractor around now to get the 0 over there. I'm looking at the angle, it's bigger than 90 but less than 180. So 0, so I'm not going up this 300 scale, I'm going along the outside, and I can see there what I probably need to do, because I've shrunk the page, and you won't need to do this in the exam, but if you did it wouldn't matter. You just extend the line so that it cuts the scale on your protractor. I can see there that that's 110, 120 is there, so it's going up 110, 111 degrees. 111 is between 90 and 180, so I'm confident that I've got that answer right. So that will be, again, 1 mark, no method marks. So for that page, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so the special name that you need, acute is a small angle. It's acute, it's small, it's less than 90 degrees. A right angle is 90 degrees, exactly. Reflex is bigger than 180. The obtuse is what I'm looking for there. Okay, so draw the lines of symmetry on this. So basically what we're saying is anywhere where we could put a mirror and it's an exact reflection. And there are 2 on this shape. One is diagonally that way, and the other is diagonally that way. You can fold along either of those lines and you get exactly the same shape. By shading as few squares as possible, complete the shaded pattern below so that AB is a line of symmetry. Now, as I've said to you in other papers, what I like to do with symmetry is have it running the same direction that I'm looking, and it's easier to see then where the folds would have to be. So if that's shaded in, that would be shaded in as well for it to be symmetrical. If that's shaded in, that would have to be shaded in. And as with graphs, on an exam paper, use a pencil so that you can rub out anything that you realize is wrong. That one there would have to go there, and that one there would have to go there. So what we've got now is a shape that is symmetrical. 1 mark, 1 mark for each line of symmetry, and there's 4 squares to shade in there, so you get 1 mark for 2 and 1 mark for another matching pair. Okay, counting squares. So this one has been drawn on a centimetre square grid, so you don't have to multiply it by anything at the end. Each one of those is 1 grid. So all you need to do is show how you are counting. So remember the method that I told you to use was count it if it's half or more, discount otherwise. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and that's probably a 44 with that one as well. So I would say 44 squares. And for this question, this is the one where it says write down the units of your answer. So there's going to be a unit mark. So you're going to write down 44 cm with a little 2 above it to show that it's area. So you have 1 mark for your method, 1 mark for an answer which is around 44. It'll probably be anything between 42 and 45, and 1 mark for the units. Total for the page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, question 7, patterns. So you can see how this pattern is being built up every time. So the next pattern is going to be 4 matches high. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Complete the following table. So if we have a look how it's increasing, it's going up by 4, then it's going up by 5. So now we'd expect it to go up by 6 and there to be 18 matches. So let's just check by counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yep, so I've got my pattern and I know I've drawn it correctly. So that means that the next pattern is going to need an extra 7 matches. So pattern number 5 would have 25. And without drawing it, write down the number of rods in pattern 6. Well, that's going to be plus 8, which is going to be 33. So you're going to have 1 mark for the sketch, 1 mark for each of those answers. So you could have got that one by drawing another one. And then here, 1 mark for spotting how they're going up, and 1 mark for the answer. Question 8. Okay, so we need to get the x on its own. It's joined by a 4. There's no mathematical symbol there, which means it's 4 times. So to get the x on its own, we're going to do the opposite of timesing by 4, which is dividing by 4. In algebra, we write divided by 4 like that. We could leave it like that, but because 4 goes into 24 exactly 6 times, we can write that and it'll be fine. In this one, the x is joined by an add 6. So to get the x on its own, we've got to do the opposite of adding 6, which is subtracting 6. We've got to do that to both sides, and 14 take away 6 is 8. Simplify 5a and 1a and 3a. There's no number in front of the a, so it's 1. So we've got 5a, 6a, 9a. When we've got a formula, when the letters and numbers are joined, there's a times there, and when we put the numbers in, we have to put the times in. So this becomes 3 times 5 add 2 times 4. Because of BODMAS, we always multiply before we add. So that becomes 3 times 5 is 15 plus 8, which equals 23. 1 mark, 1 mark, 1 mark. Method mark for correctly substituting in. Answer mark for getting 23. Total for the page: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so we're up to the grade E questions. Each of 76 pupils paid £54 to go on a school trip. Calculate the total amount paid by the pupils. So remember, this is a non-calculated question, and what you've got to work out first of all is what sum you need to do. So each of 76 pupils paid £54, so 2 pupils would pay £108. You're multiplying, you're increasing. So you have to do the sum 76 times 54. Now most students these days do a multiplication like that using a grid method, so I'll assume that that's the way that you've been shown as well. So it's multiplying two digit numbers together, which you write like that, and you fill in the cells with what you get when you multiply the corresponding rows and column numbers together. So this one will be 6 times 5, which is 30. This one will be 6 times 4, which is 24. This one would be 7 5s are 35, and this one would be 7 4s, which are 28. You then add up your diagonals. So we have a 4, we have a 10, which means you put 0 down and carry 1 to the next cell. We have 3, 6, 11 there. 11, so 1 down, carry 1 over, 3 and 1 is 4, and then we read off our number in that direction. So the answer is 4104. In order to work out 3/8 of 48, first of all find out what 1/8 is by seeing how many times 8 goes into 48. It goes in 6 times. So 3/8 will be 6 times 3, which is 18. One of the following numbers is the answer to 57 times 38. Now the trick with this is just to do 7 times 8. 7 8s are 56. It ends in a 6. So the answer ends in a 6. There's only one digit there that ends in a 6, which is that one. So you don't have to do a full-blown multiplication. Although if you choose to do so and you get it right, you'll get the mark. There's no problem with that. But the trick is just to take the two unit digits, multiply them together and see what they end in. Question 10. Look at the following list of numbers. Let's see if I can make this a bit bigger. Using only the numbers in the list, write down the cube number. So the cube number is a number that is a smaller number multiplied by itself 3 times. So what I would do here, because it's not going to be a big number, if you don't know what it is, you know that 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 times 2. 2 2s are 4. 4 2s are 8. 3 times 3 times 3. 3 3s are 9. 9 3s are 27. 4 times 4 times 4. 4 4s are 16. To get 16 4s, double it and double it again. So 16 times 2 doubled is 32. Doubled again is 64. So the cube number there is 64. Write down all the prime numbers. Well, you won't have, the only even prime number is the only even prime number is 2. So you can knock out all the even numbers straight away. 5 goes into anything that ends in a 5. So it's possibly 61, 63 and 67, but within your times tables you should know that 7 9s are 63, so it isn't that one. So we're left with 61 and 67. So 1 mark for that and 1 mark for each of those. 2 to the power of 3 we've worked out up there is 8. And 5 squared is 25. So what we have to work out there are 8 lots of 25. 4 lots of 25 is 100. So 8 lots of 25 is going to be 200. 1 mark therefore correctly working out the cube and the square. 1 mark for your answer. And for this, it's a non-calculated subtraction. When you're doing this, you need to add an extra 0. If you imagine that what you're doing is £8.30 less £5.67. Now again, depending on how you've been taught to subtract without a calculator, usually what you end up doing is borrowing 10 from there. So rather than write it as 8.30, you're writing it as 8.2010. That enables you to do this subtraction to get 3. but you can't take 6 from 2, so you have to borrow there. So you're going to write that as 7012. 6 from 12 is 6. 2.63 or £2.63 if you're still thinking in money terms. And you can check you're right by just adding up the bottom two now. So 7 and 3 is 10. 0 down carry 1. 6 and 6 is 12. And 1 is 13. 3 down carry 1. 5 and 2 is 7. Add the 1, 8. I know I've got that mark. Total for the page. I haven't given the marks for this. So you're going to have a method mark, an answer mark for correctly filling in that, or if you've done the long multiplication for the correct part of the multiplication, and then 1 mark for the correct answer. Here, 1 mark for finding out 1/8, 1 mark for getting the right answer, and 1 mark for that. So total for that page is 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, so we're into the D grade questions. Peter buys X sweets and Mary buys 6 sweets. Write down in terms of X the total number of sweets they buy. So if you're not sure, think about what it would be if Peter had a number instead of a letter. So if Peter bought 10 sweets and Mary bought 6, altogether they'd have 16. What did you do to get 16? You added. So rather than 10 plus 6, you're going to have X plus 6. Rulers cost 25 pence each. Write down in terms of Y the cost of Y rulers. Well, how many would 5 rulers cost? What would you do? You would do 25 times 5. How many would 10 rulers cost? What would you do? 25 times 10. So, for Y rulers, you would do 25 times Y. But in algebra, we don't write the times in because it looks like an X. So we would just write it as 25Y. But if you left it as 25 times Y or Y times 25, you get the mark. A car is B meters long and a second car is 2 meters shorter than it. Write down in terms of B the length of the second car. Well, again, if it was 10 meters long and the other car was 2 meters less than it, shorter than it, the other car would be 8 meters. What did you do to get 8? You took the 2 off 10. So if it's B, you take the 2 off B. B take 2. Okay, so with a question like this, what I've told you to do is to separate out your things. So if I just rewrite it first of all, so I've got more room. If there's no sign in front of the first term, it means it's plus. And what you need to do is circle off everything that is similar. So we've got R's. I've got that R there, and I've got this R there, and I've got T's. I've got that T there and that T there. And you can only simplify the same parts that have got the same letters. So that plus 3R and that plus 6R are the same. So what you're doing is you're standing on the number line of plus 3 and you're adding 6. So you end up at plus 9. And then with the T's, so that's R, sorry, 9R. With the T's, you're starting at negative 6 and you're adding 7. So you're going up your number line 7 places. You end up at plus 3. So 9R plus 3T. You don't have to have that leading plus there, but if you leave it there, you're not going to get penalised. So 1 mark for each of the algebraic terms, 1 mark for the method, 1 mark for getting the right answers. 2 square-shaped spinners, A and B, have numbers written on them. In a game, a player spins both spinners and multiplies the 2 numbers shown on the spinners to get a score for the game. For example, if the number on the spinner A is 2 and the number on the spinner B is 5, the player works out 2 times 5, which is 10, and the player scores 10. Complete the following table to show all the possible scores. So the scores here are what you can get when you spin spinner B. It's either going to be a 4, a 5, a 6 or a 7. The numbers on this axis are the numbers you get if you spin spinner A. 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So those are the possible outcomes on each separate spinner. And then what happens is, depending on what it lands on, you multiply those numbers together and that's your outcome. So pick one to make sure you know where these numbers come from. This number here you're getting by timesing 5 by 1. This number here you're getting by timesing 2 by 4. So going up here, anything times 0 is 0. So that's zeros. Here we're multiplying by 1. So it's going to be 6 times 1 is 6. 7 times 1 is 7. Here 2 times 4 is 8. 2 5s are 10. 2 6s are 12. 2 7s are 14. 3 4s are 12. 3 5s are 15. 3 6s are 18. 3 7s are 21. So what's inside that box now are all the possible scores you can get in playing this game. There's no other score you can get with the spinners that you've got there and the rule that you multiply them. So what is the probability that a player scores 0? So with probability, the number on the bottom is the total number of possible outcomes you've got. So it's the total number of digits in that box, numbers in that box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So it's an out of 16 game, and the number of those outcomes that are a 0 are 4. So the probability is 4 out of 16. Now you could cancel that down to a quarter, but it doesn't matter, you get the mark for 4 out of 16, or a quarter. What is the probability that a player does not score 0? Well, it's out of 16, and you can count all of those, or you just know it must be 12. If there are 4 zeros, the remaining ones must be not 0. So 12 out of 16, or 3 quarters. A player wins a prize by getting a score of 8 or less. Brian plays the game once. What's the probability that he wins a prize? So it's out of 16. How many ways are there of getting a score of 8 or less? Put a circle around them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that one there because it's 8 or less. So there are 9 possible ways of winning a prize. So the score is 9 out of 16. Marks for the page. 1 mark for getting half of those right, 1 mark for getting all of them right. 1 mark for the out of 16. 1 mark for the right answer. 1 mark for the right answer. 1 mark for the right answer. Total for the page: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, 1 mark left, and then we're into the C grades. So we need to look at the information that they're telling us there. They're telling me that I'm in a rectangle, so the corner angles are all 90 degrees. These little tick marks here are telling me that those two sides are the same length, so it's a special type of triangle. It's not an equilateral because that would have to be the same length as well. It's an isosceles. If it's an isosceles triangle, it means that the two angles at the bottom of the equal sides are equal. So if that's x in there as well. So in order to work out x, first of all, we take this 56 away from 180 because we know that angles inside a triangle add up to 180. So that's going to leave me 124, 174, 180. And then I've got to divide that by 2 because that 124 is what those two together add up to. So you divide that by 2 and you get 62 degrees. So angle x is 62 and that angle there is 62. So the angle Y, I'm on a straight line now, and on my straight line I know angles add up to 180, so 62 and 43 come to 105. So angle Y is going to be 75 degrees. So marks for that, you're going to have 1 mark for finding for using the fact that it's an isosceles triangle, 1 mark for working out the 124, 1 mark for working out the 62. You're going to have 1 mark there for knowing that those two angles are the same, 1 mark for taking it away, and 1 mark for the answer. So 6 marks for that part, and we'll come back and look at the C grades in the next clip.